happy Guru Purnima, the day in the calendar that's devoted to our spiritual teachers. So today is that auspicious day, so it's a good day for us to read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. And we are on right now, Sunday, October 25th, 1885. And if you have your book in front of you, it is on page 879. So this is not that long, probably 9 months before he passes away. So he is still at Champakur. It was about 6:30 in the morning when M arrived at Champakur, that's early, and asked Sri Ramakrishna about his health. He was on his way to Dr. Sarkar to report the master's condition. The master said to M, "Tell the doctor that in the early hours of the morning my mouth became filled with water and I cough. Also, ask him if I may take a bath." About 7 o'clock, M came to Dr. Sarkar's house and told him about the master's condition. The physician's old teacher and 1 or 2 friends were in the room. Dr. Sarkar said to his teacher, "Sir, I've been thinking of the Paramahamsa, who is Sri Ramakrishna. I've been thinking of the Paramahamsa since 3 in the morning. I couldn't sleep at all. Even now he is in my mind." One of the doctor's friends said to him, "Sir, I hear that some speak of the Paramahamsa as an incarnation of God. You see him every day. How do you feel about it?" Doctor, "I have the greatest regard for him as a man." M, to the doctor's friend, "It is very kind of Dr. Sarkar to treat him." Doctor, "Kindness? What do you mean?" M, "Not toward him, but toward us." Doctor, "You see, you don't know what my actual loss on account of the Paramahamsa. Every day I fail to see 2 or 3 patients. When the next day I go to their houses of my own accord, I cannot accept any fee, for I am seeing them without being called. How can I charge them for my visit?" The master turned to Mahima Chakravarti. He had been with the master when Dr. Sarkar had visited him the previous Saturday. Pointing to the doctor, Mahima had said to Sri Ramakrishna, "Sir, you yourself has created this disease in order to pamper the doctor's pride." M, to the doctor, "Mahima Chakravarti used to come to your place and attend your lectures on medical science." Doctor, "Is that so? How full of Thomas he is. Didn't you notice it? I saluted him as God's lower third." That's quite the compliment. There exists in God Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Tamas is the third and an inferior quality. Didn't you hear him say to the Mahamsa, "You yourself have created this disease in order to pamper the doctor's pride"? M, Mahima Chakravarti believes that the Paramahamsa can cure his disease himself if he wants to. Doctor, what? Cure that disease himself? Is that possible? We are physicians. We know what cancer is. We ourselves cannot cure it. And he to cure himself? He doesn't know anything about cancer, to his friends. The illness is no doubt incurable, but these gentlemen have been nursing him with sincere devotion. M requested the doctor to visit Sri Ramakrishna and returned home. In the afternoon, about 3 o'clock, M came to the master and repeated the conversation he had had with Dr. Sarkar. He said to Sri Ramakrishna, "Today the doctor embarrassed me." Master, "What happened?" M, "Yesterday he heard here that you yourself had created this illness in order to pamper the doctor's pride." Master, "Who made that remark?" M, Mahima Chakravarti. Master, "What did the doctor say to you?" M, "He described Mahima Chakravarti as God's lower third. Now he admits that all the qualities, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, exist in God." The master laughs. "Then he told me that he had waked at 3 in the morning and had been thinking of you ever since. When I saw him, it was 8 o'clock. He said to me, 'Even now the Paramahamsa is in my mind.'" Master, laughing, "You see, he has studied English. I cannot ask him to meditate on me, but he's doing so all the same, of his own accord." M, "He also said about you, 'I have the greatest regard for him as a man.'" Master, "Did you talk of anything else?" M, I asked him, "What is your suggestion today about the patient?" He said, "Suggestion? Hang it. I shall have to go to him again myself. What else can I suggest?" Sri Ramakrishna laughs. Further, he said, "You don't know how much money I'm losing every day. Every day I miss 2 or 3 calls." There were many devotees, including Narendranath, in the room. Vijay Krishna Goswami arrived and respectfully took the dust to the master's feet. Several Brahmo devotees came with him. Vijay had cut off his connection with the Brahmo Samaj and was practicing spiritual discipline independently. Sri Krishna was very fond of him on account of his piety and devotion. Though not a disciple of the master, Vijay held him in very high respect. He had lived in Dhaka a long time. Recently, he had visited many sacred places in Upper India. Mahima Chakravarti to Vijay, "Sir, you have visited many holy places and new countries. Please tell us something of your experiences." Vijay, "What shall I say? I realize that everything is here, where we are sitting now. This roaming about is useless. At the other places, I've seen 2, 5, 10, or 25% of him, meaning the master, at the most. Here alone, I find the full 100% manifestation of God." Mahima, "You are right, sir. Again, it is he, the master, who makes us roam about or remain in one place." Master to Narendra, "See what a change has come over Vijay's mind. He is an altogether different person. He is like thick milk from which all the water has been boiled off. You see, I can recognize a Paramahamsa by his neck and forehead. Yes, I can recognize a Paramahamsa." Mahima to Vijay, "Sir, you seem to eat less now, isn't that so?" Vijay, "Perhaps you're right." To the master, "I heard about your illness and have come to see you again in Dhaka." Master, "What about Dhaka?" Vijay did not reply and was silent a few minutes. Vijay, "It's difficult to understand him," meaning the master, "unless he reveals himself. Here alone is 100% manifestation of God." Master, "Cater said that the other day. At other places we don't get anything to eat, but here we get a stomachful." Mahima, "Why a stomachful? It overflows the stomach." Vijay, to the master with folded hands, "I have now realized who you are. You don't have to tell me." Master, in a state of ecstasy, If so, then so be it." Saying, "Yes, I've understood," Vijay fell prostrate before the master. He held the master's feet on his chest and clung to them. The master was in deep samadhi, motionless as a picture. The devotees were overwhelmed by this sight. Some burst into tears, and some chanted sacred hymns. All eyes were riveted on Sri Ramakrishna. They viewed him in different ways, according to their spiritual unfoldment. Some as a great devotee, some as a holy man, some as God incarnate. Mahima Charan sang with tears in his eyes, "Behold, behold the embodiment of love divine." Now and then he chanted, as if enjoying a glimpse of Brahman, the transcendental, beyond the one and the many, existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. Navagopal was weeping. Bhupati sang, "Hallowed be Brahman, the absolute, the infinite, the fathomless, higher than the highest, deeper than the deepest depths. Thou art the light of truth, the fount of love, the home of bliss. This universe, with all its manifold and blessed modes, is but the enchanting poem of thine inexhaustible thought. Its beauty overflows on every side. O thou poet, great and primal, in the rhythm of thy thought the sun and moon arise and move toward their setting. The suns, shining like bits of gems, are the fair characters in which thy song is written in the vast blue expanse of sky. The year, with its 6 seasons, in tune with the happy earth, proclaims thy glory to the end of time. The colors of the flowers reveal thy sovereign beauty. The waters in their stillness, thy deep serenity. The thunderclap unveils to us the terror of thy law. Deep is thine essence. Truly, how can a foolish mind perceive it? Wondering, it meditates on thee from yuga to yuga's end. Millions upon millions of suns and moons and stars bow down to thee, O Lord, in rapturous awe. Beholding thy creation, men and women weep for joy. The gods and angels worship thee, O all-pervading presence. O thou, the fount of goodness, bestow on us thy knowledge, bestow on us devotion, bestow pure love and perfect peace, and grant us shelter at thy hallowed feet. Bhupati sang again. Upon the sea of blissful awareness, waves of ecstatic love arise. Rapture divine, play of God's bliss, oh how enthralling. He sang a third song. Here vanished my fear and my delusion, my piety, rituals, and good works. Here vanished my pride of race and caste. Where am I? Where art thou, O Hari? Thou hast stolen my life and my soul, and now, O friend, thou dost desert me. Oh, what a fool I was to come here to this shore of this ocean of the sea of love. Full to brim with heavenly bliss is filled this little soul of mine. Prem Das says, hearken one and all. This in truth is the way of God. After a long time, Sri Ramakrishna regained consciousness of the world. Master to M. Something happens to me in that state of intoxication. Now I feel ashamed of myself. In that state, I feel as if I was possessed by a ghost. I cease to be my own self. When coming down from that state, I cannot count correctly. Trying to count, I say 1, 7, 8, or some such thing. Narendra, that's because everything's one. Master, no, it is beyond 1 and 2. Mahima, yes, you're right. There is neither 1 nor 2. Master, their reason withers away. God cannot be realized through scholarship. He is beyond the scriptures, the Vedas, the Puranas, the Tantras. If I see a person even with 1 book in their hand, I call him a Rajarshi. That's a rishi or a seer who appears with outer splendor like a king. Though he is a jnani, but the Brahmarshi has no outer sign whatsoever. Do you know the use of scriptures? A man once wrote a letter to a relative asking him to send 5 seers of sweetmeats and a piece of cloth. The relative received the letter, read it, and remembered about the sweetmeats and the cloth. Then he threw the letter away. Of what further use was it? Vijay, I see that the sweetmeat has been sent. Master, God incarnates himself on earth in a human body. He is, no doubt, present everywhere and in all beings. But human longing is not satisfied unless they see God in a human form. Human need is not satisfied without the divine incarnation. Do you know what it's like? By touching any part of a cow, you undoubtedly touch the cow herself. Even by touching her horns, you can't touch the cow. But the milk goes through the cow's udder. Mahima. If a person wants milk, they must put their mouth to the udder. What will they get by sucking the horns? All laugh. Vijay. But a calf at first licks other parts of the cow. Master, smiling. True. But seeing the calf do so, someone perhaps puts its mouth to the udder. All laugh. The conversation was thus going on when Dr. Sarkar came into the room and took a seat. He said to the master, I woke up at 3 this morning, greatly worried that you were going to catch cold. Oh, I thought many other things about you. Master, I've been coughing and my throat is sore. In the small hours of the morning, my mouth is filled with water. My whole body is aching. Doctor, yes, I heard all about it this morning. Mahimacharn told of his trip to various parts of the country and said that in Ceylon no man left. Dr. Sarkar said, it may be so, but I shall have to inquire about it. All laugh. The conversation turned to the duties of life. Master, to the doctor. Many think that the duty of a physician is a very noble one. The physician is undoubtedly a noble person if they treat the patients free, out of compassion, and moved by their suffering. Then their work may be called very uplifting. But a physician becomes cruel and callous if they carry out the profession for money. It's very mean to do things such as examine urine and stool in order to earn money, like a businessman carrying on his trade. Doctor, you are right. It is undoubtedly wrong for a physician to perform duties in that spirit. But I don't like to brag before you, Master. But the medical profession is certainly very noble if the physician devotes themselves to the welfare of others in an unselfish spirit. Whatever may be a householder's profession, it's necessary for them to live in the company of holy people now and then. If a person loves God, They themselves seek the company of holy people. I give the illustration of the hemp smoker. One hemp smoker loves the company of another hemp smoker. At the sight of a person who does not smoke hemp, he goes away downcast eyes or hides himself in a corner. But his joy is unbounded if he meets a hemp addict. Perhaps they embrace each other. I'll laugh. Again, a vulture loves the company of other vultures. Doctor. It has also been noticed that a vulture runs away for fear of a crow. In my opinion, one should serve all creatures, not people alone. Often I feel the sparrows with flour. I throw small pellets of flour to them, and they come in swarms. They love to eat them. Master, bravo. That's grand. Holy people should feed other creatures. They feed ants with sugar. Doctor. Will there be no singing today? Master, to Narendra. Why don't you sing a little? Narendra sang to the accompaniment of the tanpura and other instruments. Sweet is thy name, O refuge of the humble. It falls like sweetest nectar on our ears and comforts us, beloved of our souls. The priceless treasure of thy name alone is the abode of immortality. And he who chants thy name becomes immortal. Falling upon our ears, thy holy name instantly slays the anguish of our hearts. Thou soul of our souls, and fills our hearts with bliss. Narendra sang again. O mother, make me mad with thy love. What need have I of knowledge or reason? Make me drunk with thy love's wine. O thou who stealest thy bhaktas' hearts, drown me deep in thy sea of love. Here in this world, this madhouse of thine, some laugh, some weep, some dance for joy. Jesus, Buddha, Moses, Gauranga, all are drunk with the wine of thy love. O mother, when shall I be blessed by joining their blissful company? A strange transformation came over the devotees. They all became mad, as it were, with divine ecstasy. The pundit stood up, forgetting the pride of his scholarship, and cried, O mother, make me mad with thy love. What need have I of knowledge or reason? Vijay was the first on his feet, carried away by divine intoxication. Then Sri Ramakrishna stood up, forgetting all about his painful and fatal illness. The doctor, who had been sitting in front of him, also stood up. Both patient and physician forgot themselves in the spell created by Narendra's music. The younger Nar and Latu went into deep samadhi. The atmosphere of the room became electric. Everyone felt the presence of God. Dr. Sarkar, eminent scientist though he was, stood breathless, watching this strange scene. He noticed the devotees had gone into samadhi, were utterly unconscious of the outer world. All were motionless and transfixed. After a while, as they came down a little to the plane of the relative world, some laughed and some wept. An outsider entering the room would have thought that a number of drunkards were assembled there. A little later, Sri Ramakrishna resumed his conversation as the devotees were taking their seats. It was about 8 o'clock in the evening. Master, you have just noticed the effect of divine ecstasy. What does your science say about that? Do you think it's a mere hoax? Doctor, to the master, I must say that this is all natural when so many people experienced. It cannot be a hoax. To Narendra, when you sang the lines, O mother, make me mad with thy love, what need have I of knowledge or reason? I could hardly control myself. I was about to jump to my feet. With great difficulty, I suppressed my emotion. I said to myself, no, I must not display my feelings. Master, with a smile to the doctor, you are unshakable and motionless like Mount Sumeru. You are a very deep soul. Nobody could perceive the deep emotion of Rupa and Sanatana. If an elephant enters a small pool, there is a splashing of water on all sides. But this does not happen when it plunges into a big lake. Hardly anyone notices it. Radha once said to her companion, friend, you are weeping so much at our separation from Sri Krishna, but look at me. How stony my heart is. There is not a tear in my eyes. Brinde, her friend, replied, yes, your eyes are dry, but there is a deep meaning in it. A fire of grief is constantly raging in your heart because of your separation from Krishna. No sooner do the tears gather in your eyes than they are dried up in the heat of that fire. Doctor, no one could beat you in talk. Laughter. The conversation turned to other things. Ramakrishna described to the doctor his ecstasies at Dakshineshwar. He also told him how to control anger, lust, and other passions. Doctor: I have heard the story that you were once lying on the ground unconscious in samadhi when a wicked man kicked you with his boots. Master: You must have heard that from M. The man was Chandra Haldar, a priest of the Kali temple at Kalighat. He often came to Mathur Babu's house. One day I was lying on the ground in an ecstatic mood. The room was dark. Chandra Haldar thought I was feigning that state in order to win Mathur's favor. He entered the room and kicked me several times with his boots. It left black marks on my body. Everyone wanted to tell Mathur about it, but I forbade them. Doctor: This is also due to the will of God. Thus you have taught people how to control anger and practice forgiveness. In the meantime, Vijay had become engaged in conversation with the other devotees. Vijay: I feel as if someone were always moving with me. He shows me what is happening even at a distance. Narendra: Like a guardian angel. I've seen him, meaning the master, in Dhaka. I even touched his body. Master with a smile: It must have been someone else. Narendra: I too have seen him many a time. To Vijay: How can I say I don't believe your words? And that is the end of that chapter. So, any questions, any discussion, any problems? Nothing? Well, then we'll continue. Then we'll go right into the Master's training of his disciples, Monday, October 26th, 1885. It was about 10 o'clock in the morning when M arrived at the Champukor house on his way to Dr. Sarkar to report the Master's condition. Dr. Sarkar had declared the illness incurable. His words cast gloom over the minds of the Master's disciples and devotees and disciples. With unflagging devotion and zeal, they nursed the patient, their teacher, guide, philosopher, and friend. A band of young disciples led by Narendra was preparing to renounce the world and dedicate their lives to the realization of God and the service of humanity. People flocked to the Master day and night, in spite of the excruciating pain in his throat. He welcomed them all with a cheerful face. There seemed to be no limit to his solicitude for their welfare. His face beamed as he talked to them about God. Dr. Sarkar, seeing that the conversation aggravated the illness, forbade him to talk to people. You must not talk to others, the physician had said to the Master, but you may make an exception in my case. The doctor used to spend 6 or 7 hours in the Master's company, drinking in every word that fell from his lips. Master: I'm feeling much relieved. I am very well today. Is it because of my medicine? Then why shouldn't I continue it? M: I'm going to the doctor. I shall tell him everything. He will advise what is best. Master: I haven't seen Purna for 2 or 3 days. I'm worried about him. M: to Kali: Why don't you see Purna and ask him to come? Kali: I shall go immediately. Master to M: The doctor's son is a nice boy. Please ask him to come. M arrived at Dr. Sarkar's house and found him with 2 or 3 friends. Doctor to M: I was talking about you just a minute ago. You said you would come at 10, and I've been waiting for you for an hour and a half. Your delay made me worry about him, meaning Ramakrishna. To a friend: Please sing that song. The friend sang: Proclaim the glory of God's name as long as life remains in you. The dazzling splendor of his radiance floods the universe. Like nectar streams his boundless love, filling the hearts of men with joy. The very thought of his compassion sends a thrill through every limb. How can one fittingly describe him? Through his unbounding grace, the bitter sorrows of life are forgotten instantly. On every side, on land below and sky above, beneath the seas, in every region of this earth, men seek him tirelessly. And as they seek him, ever ask, where is his limit? Where is his end? True wisdom's dwelling place is he, the elixir of eternal life, the sleepless, ever-wakeful eye, the pure and stainless one. The vision of his face removes all trace of sorrow from our hearts. Doctor, to M, isn't it a beautiful song? How do you like that line, where is his limit, where is his end? M, yes, that's a very fine line. It fills the mind with the idea of the infinite. Doctor, tenderly to M, it's already late in the morning. Have you taken your lunch? I finished mine before 10 and began my professional calls. Otherwise, I don't feel well. Look here. I've been thinking of giving a feast to you all, meaning Sri Ramakrishna's devotees, one day. M, that will be fine, sir. Doctor, where shall I arrange it? Here or in Shampakor House? Whatever you suggest. M, it doesn't matter, sir. Wherever you arrange it, we shall be very happy to dine with you. The conversation turned to Kali, the Divine Mother. Doctor, Kali is an old hag of the Santals. M burst into loud laughter and said, where did you get that? Doctor, oh, I've heard something like that. M laughs. They begin to talk about the ecstasy that Vijay and the others had experienced the previous day in the master's room. The doctor also had been present on that occasion. Doctor, yes, I witnessed that ecstasy. But is excessive ecstasy good for one? M, the master says that an excess of ecstasy harms no one if it is the result of the contemplation of God. He further says that the luster of a gem gives light and soothes the body. It does not burn. Doctor, oh, the luster of a gem. That's the reflected light. M, he also says that a man does not die by sinking into the lake of immortality. God is that lake. A plunge into that lake does not injure a person. On the contrary, it makes them immortal. Of course, they'll become immortal only if they have faith in God. And I think Doctor says, yes, that is true, and that is where we will leave for that day. Okay. Yes.
Sarkar, after Thakur passed away, do you know anything about him?
You know, we just looked that up the other day, and we couldn't really, he created a book, and he was given an award, but there's nothing personal at all. We were definitely trying to track all that down.
Okay.
And we thought for sure there would be some information on the internet, but we couldn't find anything.
Okay, thanks.
He died in what, 1904.
Okay.
So, everybody out there doing okay? I see Lido. Hi, Lido. I see the emblem of Dottie. And Marie, I saw you. And Cody, glad you're here. Amrita. All right. Hi, Cody. Good to see you. All right. Well, tomorrow, Krishna Prana will be speaking, and she will be speaking on things to remember, which sounds very interesting and good. So on Wednesday, we will have our 5 o'clock Eternal Companion reading. Next Saturday, of course, will be the next Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna reading. And so we hope to see you either in person or through these machines. Well, sorry. So we'll conclude with a chant. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Thanks for joining.